Welcome and thank you for tuning in to the home of the most competitive game coverage, most intense unit analysis, and the highest of high-level plays ever seen by two casuals who barely know where the rule booklet is. You're listening to This is for Worlds. Let us join Aaron and Phi and see what competitive topic is on the docket today. Hi and welcome back to This is for Worlds. I'm Phi.
I'm Aaron.
And we're just two idiots on the internet, playing games in real life and throwing dice, sometimes on the table, sometimes at each other, but here we are.
And somehow trying to keep a schedule for recording.
Look, I would love to have nothing more than a regular scheduled Monday. But when you get voluntold to do work shit, you kind of don't get a choice. And then Hillary and I think, snuck a vacation in there. I think specifically on the day we normally record, we were at Mount Rainier, but
I guess that's allowed.
Yeah. So it's all me. Don't throw any hate Aaron's way. It was.
You can. It's fine.
I will be.
I'll be the. I'll be the villain. It's fine.
You're like the farthest thing from a villain.
Fair enough.
So
So you're telling me I'm not trying hard enough, but moving on.
You will try. See? Definitely not villain enough. So we'll just move on to our modeling for advantage. Given that we haven't played in some time, did we at least do any modeling? Some painting, some assembly?
I didn't do a ton, so we can get mine out of the way real quick. I've been kind of burnt out on working on stuff for myself.
But you have so
I
much
did
more
finally
you need to do.
Oh, believe me, I got like 60 aircraft or however much you printed for Blood Red Skies, which is what I've been working on.
And
they are all
Legion.
No, well, I didn't even build or paint anything for that.
Really?
I don't remember doing anything. I didn't actually do any of the clone stuff.
Yeah, but you don't need to. Yeah, we'll get into that later.
Fair enough. But I got all the aircraft that you printed done. They're all airbrush primed red, and the first squad of 6 is kind of done. I'll yak at you later more about the possibility of doing some decals, but I went with, if anyone played the Crimson Skies board game / miniatures game, or the classic Xbox game, it's an arcade, like a 1930s Sky Pirates kind of thing. And the Fortune Hunters are the band of Sky Pirate mercenaries that you play as, so that's the scheme I'm going for. But there's like a lot of freehand, but it's not like freehand in so much as it's like art, so much as it's all red, and then along the wings there's a black line, which is fairly easy because I can just use, like, there's control surface, there's like panel lines I can use.
Yeah.
But then behind the black line is a just as thin pure white line. And so that's going over a red base coat and then like getting it nice and neat and tidy and not super like blobby. I tried it with masking tape, but then it bled under the masking tape and it was like, eh. Then again, I was just using painter's tape, so I know some folks have used, like, I see people online use the like Tamiya actually makes like hobbying their own.
Yeah, I've got a couple
masking tape.
I don't know if it's
like the super thin stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if it's, well, it depends, because I don't know if what I have is Tamiya specifically, but it's definitely varying thicknesses, so that like maybe if you're looking to do, like, you already painted one color and you know that's going to be your center stripe, but you know the width, like there's different widths for it, and then there's like the super thin, so it's like flexible as you make S curves or whatever. I haven't used it in some time.
It's totally doable with a brush, but when I have quite so many to do, it's very tedious. But the one squad I did, I was quite happy with how it came out. So,
I definitely get it. When I start covering some of the stuff that I was working on, I can talk about how I should have broken it out, but I was really trying to push myself and learn the skill a little bit more. But is that
but
on
what
you?
is this supposed? I was gonna say, but what is this supposed stuff I've worked on for Legion?
It was no supposed. I was just surprised that with the new rules, you didn't do any.
Well, I mean, like as far as rebels go, the only thing I don't have like the max or close enough to the max that I can take is Mandos. Is literally the only thing.
So you're saying
I guess
you
maybe
have 6 vets, 6 fleets,
no.
6 troopers?
I have 4 fleets, 5 regular troopers, and I have 3 squads of vets and their guns.
Yeah,
I did
you need
liberate
to
some
take
veterans.
full squads.
Yeah. I my my squads need to die before I'm convinced of that. Since
Well, you need to put them in the fight, and that's a little preview of the thing that
We're-
we're going to cover later.
they were scoring points, thank you very much.
Fucking
But yeah,
coward! You coward!
I was eager to see them take some hits though, just because of the way I kitted them out. But anyway, continue. What'd you work on?
Anything else? Oh, that's all you worked on was just the BLS?
Oh, that's literally it, man.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I've been super burnt out on modeling.
That's fair. I think for the most part, I don't know if I've talked about it on here yet, but we'll talk about the hobby stuff for game models. So with the new edition of Legion being out, I decided that this would be the perfect opportunity to finish or at least get a super head start on an army that's been sitting on my shelf for a really long time, which is super weird because if you've heard a lot of the stuff that I've talked about, and even seen glimpses of our Instagram, the CIS Army was the very first army that I started with, and I have I won't say canon, but it's a canon inspired theme because it uses the colors of Count Dooku's House Serrano crest as the primary and secondary colors for the whole army. You use the dark green as a base layer, and then you use that neon yellow green as more as highlighting camo kind of stuff. And I really like how it turned out. I love how the snail turned out in that one. It's a bummer that I've never put that one on the table after it got painted. But I was doing the Stormtide campaign from 5th Trooper for a while, and because it's not official, because it's not properly licensed and all of that, everything's generic, and I was making an Elish Norn CIS army. So Elish Norn was my commander, and all the B1s and B2s and anything that had a droid head was getting modified to mirror heads from Magic the Gathering, MYR. So I converted a file that I found for a larger print or something, and I shrunk it down, removed some of the extraneous bits that I didn't need, and literally just printed 100 or so of these heads. And I think overall I had probably about a 500 point army with it, with one squad in black and red and one squad in white and red, and I loved it. I love the way it looked, and I love the way Grievous looks. I I did the Magna Guards recently with the new heads, and I kind of really like how they look a lot better than the regular Magna Guard. Um, the everything that's in a cloak kind of gives off Egyptian vibe because it's like a bird head almost sticking out of the cloak, whereas you don't really get that with the B1 bodies. It definitely looks more like an actual mirror for the most part. I also think the B2s look sick. Um, but I finally like sat down for our first learning event for the new rule set. I at least base coated everything the white and the red, uh, which I loved. And the tank, which has been sitting for a really long time, recently decided to try to do paint marker as outlining because the tank I did red section to kind of emulate Elish Norn's crown or head or whatever you want to call it on the whole to kind of make it look like the reach is coming towards you. And I didn't like how the red just met the white, so I wanted an outline there. So I tried to do paint marker. I really didn't like how the paint marker came out because it didn't seem. I don't know if it was just the quality of the paint marker or not using it right, but the instructions were literally just like shake it, press down a couple times to get the paint flowing to the marker, and then just start drawing with it. I felt like the paint marker, and this was like the stuff that a lot of Gundam builders use, but I felt like the paint more went out to the side on where the tip was and not where the tip actually makes contact, if that makes sense. So as I was like tracing the design, I was getting like black paint on the red crown, black paint on the white body, and then I would just have the line in the center in spots where you could see that it's joining. So I went back over it with trying to do fine line skills, and I really wish I just kind of was like, all right, go back to your roots, go back to your model building experience, put the fucking tape down. There's not a lot of panel lines on the AAT, so just you're not going to have to worry about bleed as much. I really wish I had done that. It would have been super hard in a couple areas, but I think in the areas where the tape wouldn't have fit, my skills were good enough that I could have fudged it. So I don't hate it. I think it still looks good, and I think once it's weathered, it's going to be perfectly fine. Which is the next step because I still need to do the B1s, but last night I did all the Magnas, all the B2s, the Grievous, and the Droidekas, where I touched up some of the bits and bobs like weapons, cooling lines, stuff like that. Did them in gray. On the Magnas, instead of the purple like shocks coming out the weapon, I went with like I forget what the color is. It's like a putrid green or something, to kind of give it like pestilence of Elish Norn kind of vibes. And then touched up the capes, and then everywhere where I had spillover when doing the red, went back, fine, touched up all of that to put it back white. And once I decide on what I want to do for the bases, because I'm really torn, I want to either like try and do something inspired from Elish Norn's plane, or maybe just make it normal, just to because like one of the most recent events was like the Phyrexians invade every fucking plane. So maybe I make
Right.
it somewhat more normal, like, oh, we're invading Naboo, oh, we're invading Mustafar, or something. Because I don't really know. Like, if you look at a lot of the Elish Norn art and stuff like that, when you're not talking about like the original attack on like New Phyrexia or Mirrodin and all of that, if you're really working on a lot of the new stuff when she's like established, it's all like alabaster, porcelain, clean, and I'm like, I don't really want that. So I don't really know what I do instead. Um, I've had some cool ideas because I have 3D prints from an artist who has a Patreon, and if you reach out, I will send it to you. But I have asked him in the past, and he does not like to be tagged because he does do some work for another game manufacturer of the futuristic variety, somewhat grim and dark, and he really wants to stay under the radar as much as possible. Um, but if you like reach out and you want to know, like I'll more than send it to him. He's a brilliant artist, but some of his early work he did, like the Shrieking Angel from New Phyrexia. He's done Atraxa and some Acolyte Priests. And so what I want to do, because obviously not everybody in the CIS faction for droids is Mir. What I want to do is take the Atraxa print, cut the head off, and use that for Asajj. And then one of the Acolytes use it for Dooku, and the T series, Kalani and Kraken, and Grievous all have the Mir heads. I think they look fucking amazing. I really like the Super Tac heads. They do look pretty cool, but I have the design, or not the design, but the way that I have my Kalani modeled, where he's standing straight up, he's holding the rifle out to his left, and he's looking down his arm through the sights, and it's like with his other arm at his side, makes it look like yeah, I'm not bothered, and I'm gonna like put a round through your head kind of look. I think it looks really good. I think the Kraken looks really good with the mirror head. Grievous looks really good with the mirror head. So I think if it's a droid of any capacity, even though, yes, I know Grievous is not a droid, I think I'm going to stick to that route, and then I'll do like the Acolyte or something for the fleshies, because unless we get Trench, and then I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do with Trench, or I guess, oh, I can't think of his name. Where are those droidicas? That guy. I'm blanking right now. Newt Gunray. So I want to do Newt Gunray as like maybe an Acolyte or something. But that is like mostly done. All I need to do now is base the B1s, the rest of the B1s. I've got 2 squads, and that's not counting. Like, I have enough to do another full Separatist army with those B1s, but I think just to fill my original list, I'm like almost there. I've got to do a couple heavy weapons, a couple models, and it'll be done. So that's been the big push lately because of the new revision. Other than that, I had a little bit of time where I didn't want to, like, because I've been breaking up the CIS army into like different. I'll do Grievous one night, I'll do the 4 Magnas one night, I'll do the B2 squads this night. So I broke them up, and then I had a night where I was like, oh, I don't really want to tackle the B1s right now, I don't have enough time. And I remembered that I still had the civilian ships for not Team Yankee, Victory at Sea. So I went ahead and painted those. The oiler is red, so it stands out. One of the Liberty ships I painted green just to be like, it's an ammo ship. And then the rest are like runic gray or some other kind of gray. And on that water, it looks so good. I don't know what we use them for yet, but I'm super excited to at least have them in the rotation and to be able to put them on the table.
Yeah, I really quite liked how they came out.
Yeah, I think the water is what makes it. Like, honestly, I think if you just see anything on that water, you're just like, yeah, that looks fucking dope.
I mean, you could say, yes, that does. It certainly helps, but I mean, I think it helps for any miniature, for any game, having a really thematic base or just something that having every single model on the board be tied together, even if it's not the same as the table beneath it.
Yeah.
It really brings it together.
Yep. And we'll get into it in future competitive markets, but I have also decided on the next area that we go to for Victory at Sea, I'm going to do the same paint. And I'll explain why once we get there, but outside of that, I think that's all I've had a chance to work on.
Alright, moving on.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure we shared my aircraft for Blood Red Sky.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I will... Oh, damn, I totally forgot. I will at least say the other thing that I'm working on for Blood Red Sky, and Plain Printer reached out and shot me a file earlier today, or earlier this weekend. I don't remember when. So I still need to modify that. I know we definitely haven't talked about it here because it's been like a month and I only probably designed it and printed it for the first time like maybe 3-4 weeks ago. But the Blood Red Sky stands.
Oh, yes.
They, for those of you that play Blood Red Skies, you know it's a little simple stand. It's got a hinge on the base, forward, middle, back, and then it has that little triangle where you can never seem to... I'm pretty sure the triangles are all the same size, but the fucking aircraft are never printed with the same size hull or poured or whatever, however they make them. I never feel like they have the same size hole, so you have to trim something to make it fit, and it's super frustrating. So I sat down and was like, how do you solve this? I'm not an engineer. I'm just competent enough to read manuals and follow instructions. So I I designed a stand that instead of having a hinge at the base, it has a solid peg that goes up to a cup that I measured specifically for a radial magnet so that you can put a carbon ferrite bearing in the center and then put another radial magnet on top so that you can have the aircraft. Right now, if you use like the Warlord models, you can drill in it. At least the ones that I've done, they're soft plastic, and I can throw a picture up on our Insta. But it's a soft plastic. It takes the magnet pretty well. You don't have to go too far. Granted, I only tried it on Oscars, I think, the Japanese fighters, and you don't have to go all the way through. You don't have to go too deep. It's entirely up to how much you want sticking out the bottom. Although I was able to drill the hole perfect, shove the magnet completely inside without breaking the canopy or anything. And the reason I recommend that is if you leave a gap where the magnet sticks out the bottom, it causes the magnets to want to touch. So when you put them on that angle, it slides forward or it slides to the left or it slides back and makes contact. But if you shove it inside, then when you tilt it, because of the strength of the magnet, it'll hold whatever position you have. And frankly, I think it looks so much cooler being able to bank an aircraft or, have it tilted up or down. And I've made different sizes in height, and then I'm working on one for larger aircraft so that when you're shuffling around the table, because we've all been there if you play Blood Red Skies, doesn't matter like if you have advantage, disadvantage, or fucking neutral, when you like shove them all together, it's almost impossible to maneuver them without knocking shit off or having to take them off the peg or whatever. So realistically, you're just flying stands around depending on the furball you're in. This, if you have different heights and you can position them at different angles and you can even bank them and stuff, it gives you a lot more play on the table and where they go. And I made it so the base can accept the cardboard tokens if you want. I also made arc lines inside the bottom of the base so that you can paint it the color of the thing if you want. Because, you're going to 3D print them. So make however many you want and make like 5 aces, 10 fours, veterans, whatever they're called, so on and so forth, all the way down. And then, like, you just break them out whenever you want to play them. But Plane Printer, I reached out to him to be like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. Converting from STL back to this is like super difficult because there's so many polygons and shit that when I'm trying to edit one, it doesn't cut where I want. So I was trying to get the original files so I could see if I could do it without having to waste a bunch of time. Because doing it on one fighter is not terrible. But if I want to make B-29s or B-17s and P-51s and Zeros and BF-109s, like, it's a lot of aircraft. So, if I want to make this shit go efficiently, I need to find a better way to make the correct adjustments inside the files before printing them. Because I did try to cut my SM79 for the Italians, and because resin doesn't really cut, it just chips, no matter how sharp of a knife that you got and how little you're trying to take off in like a circular motion or try and drill, that shit was just chipping instead, and so I wasn't getting circular cuts or anything like that, so it quickly became a waste of time. So I decided you either make a triangle with a stand that encompasses the magnet to plug into your aircraft, which I may end up doing just to do so that if people really want or they're really worried about cutting into an aircraft that's already painted or a 3D print that they already have printed, it's there. I don't think it looks as good, but to each their own. At least it's an option. But I really like how it looks when it's the only thing showing on top of the stand. So, yeah, I'm working on that. And the single, the small fighters stands are done. I just need to test print the larger ones for like B-17s and shit to make sure that when they are angled forward or back, they don't fully tip, because they got the enlarged bases, but it's also not circular on top, so when you move a fighter in close, you don't have to worry about it tipping over because it just sits flat on the base of the enemy bomber that you're trying to shoot, if that makes sense. Yeah. I'm really trying to think about this as like enhance player experience without taking options away, I guess, or like making you be like, I don't know, because I saw a post and I don't know how old it was because I saw it while I was doing some searching for some specific rules, and I saw someone had mentioned that like they were really upset with how the game goes as kind of like a new player, because they were like, well, if you get the large, it's more of a pain in the butt to move your stuff around the table because it takes up so much real estate that, like, it doesn't enhance the game. It just lets you put something on the table, but it can be just as much of a pain to work around. And so I was like, well, buddy, give me some time. I'm fucking working on that. The first prototype went really, really well. Hopefully we get the larger prototype done soon. I already have the magnets for them. I'm going to do a whole write-up and everything to be like, these are the magnets I bought. These are the ferrite cores that are that I purchased. Here's everything. Here's detailed instructions. I'm putting them in. Bada bing, bada boom. Go forth and, fly your little airplanes around. So look forward to that at some point. Pretty happy about it.
Cool.
Yeah.
When I was quite impressed when I saw your trial run, they are quite cool. It just like pushes it over the edge thematically for me, W.
Yeah, and I thought I was looking there is a clear blue resin that is the same quality of the resin that I used to make the prototypes, and I'm like, I'm sold. Like, I will never print another aircraft again without that kind of stand incorporated. So, lots of good stuff coming down the pipe. A lot of good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, shall we go into some of the games we played? I know it's been a hot minute. Two of these we can probably cover pretty quick. One, because I mainly just want to point out how the game ended, and once again our general experience with a certain game mode, and then I just briefly want to touch on the point system for Team Yankee after.
Dive right in.
Sweet. So once again, listeners, I will go off on a rant here about some things. So if the timing is right on when I sent this message to you to detail the notes, back in July, around the 10th, we played a Victory at Sea game. Once again, a 2v2, because that's apparently the only way one of our players will touch that game for some weird reason. Where both of you played Japanese Navy. I played my Italians, and John played the U.S. I was the only person who was taking advantage of the evasive or evade maneuver or order, slow rolling my ships into the fight, mainly because I don't have huge firepower. Like, I don't have heavy, which you and John both bought, even though John was on my team. So I knew I didn't want to stick my head out in the fight and be like, hey, what's up? And then get bitch slapped for, like, potential 8 crits or something fucking stupid. So I was taking evasive and hiding behind a island while basically diving straight for you. Diving straight forward at 3 inches a turn. Very slow, but I wanted to make sure that when I joined the fight, I was punching as hard as I could with as much health as I could at whatever was there. And turns out wasn't entirely necessary, because John did John things where he fucking vitaled your Yamato. And
again, from like triple digit health, by the way.
Yeah, triple digit health. I think you had like maybe 2 crits on it previously. Like, you and John were just slugging back and forth. Carl was trying to move his destroyers in to disrupt John's stuff, and I was trying to. You were moving right through 2 islands, so I knew you couldn't maneuver, and that's where I was going to try and jump you. Except I never really got a chance because John vitaled you. So I basically, for this entire game, shuffled my fleet 3 inches, avoiding contact, hoping not that John would just murder you, but like at least do enough damage that when I came around the corner, I wasn't facing a full health, full stack Yamato again with my Littorio, just being like, "Hello, yeah, you're like twice my size."
Yeah, potentially at point blank range.
There was no potential. Like once, if we had both cleared the island, that was how that fight was going to go, and I was going to lose because you also have more light guns than I do. So it was just, unless I just had the luck against you all night, where if you were rolling nothing but whiffs, like I was going to eat it real bad. Because I brought 3 Zaras with me, and they couldn't do anything to you. I just did not have the AP on the Zaras to punch through your armor. So I was like, I guess they're here for cleanup on Carl's destroyers, and I guess the Nagato. But yeah, never got a chance because John once again vitaled the Yamato from triple digit health and nuked it. And at that point, we literally just looked up at each other, and everybody's like, "Good game, good game, good game. All right, GG's. Everybody go home."
Yeah,
yeah. And that's another game that we keep learning that we're doing some stuff wrong each and every time. But I really feel like we're getting there. Like we're almost, wouldn't say experts, but we can at least play a game without referencing the rule book.
Yeah, not seemingly every activation anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. So I still really like Victory at Sea. I'll kind of tie in future competitive markets here. I'm gonna get into the French. I gave you all of my American. I don't know. Yeah, I was in the American Navy. There's a lot of options in the game. But every time I looked at them and wanting to paint them, I was like, bleh. I don't want to. And when it came to like looking at anything, it was like, why would I just not take a Montana? So I
feel that a lot in the game where like, unless you want to like recreate something historic and play a scenario, realistically, if you're Japanese, you can take stupid good torpedoes, or Americans, you have access to tons of heavy battleships with the heavy keyword at really reasonable prices. Like the New Mexicos don't seem that bad for how hard they hit.
Right.
Like comparably to like what I have in the Japanese, like the Congo's like a 385-ish 400-point battleship, and it gets like +1 AP and no heavy on the keyword, where like the heavy really, really helps.
Right.
So.
Yep. And I think for just who I am as a person, I like having the French and the Italian and having to look at them and go, okay, I run into a Yamato or a Yamato. What do I do? What can I build in this fleet? If I run into a Montana, how am I trying to deal with this? I like that it kind of forces me to read each and every ship. It's like, yeah, I'm taking a Littorio each and every time we play. But that's 550 points. That leaves me 450 points to fill with a bunch of other things. And so normally I fall into my meme list of like the cunt and the Luigi as like my primaries, and then I fill them in with random other things. But this time I was like, oh man, if they bring access cruisers again, I really want the Zaras to be able to eat them up when I'm at range, and when we're at point blank, having no weak on the light guns is like, it's amazing. So I feel like it forces me to look at what my options are instead of like, oh, we're playing a 1,500 point game? Okay, that's a Montana. I got 550 points to take. Like, that's just kind of how I feel. So, and because of that, I'm going to do like a, I don't think, it's not obscene. I don't think I'm going to do like glitz and glam, but I really like the idea of doing like a French Riviera fleet. So keep them in the same water style as my Italians. And then I don't know, I was thinking like white with some gold or something, try and make them look like luxury ships almost.
Okay.
Cuz I have a real quote unquote air quotes, finger quotes going on over here. I have a real navy in the Italians. Like, I really like the camo that I have on them. I really like the way their deck looks, and I really like the flag on the stern. I don't know. I want something to kind of differentiate my French from the Italian. So I haven't really thought real hard about what I want to do for them yet, but oh boy, when I was looking through the Warlord website and I saw they fucking had a submarine that had a turret on it and was not as big as, I think it's the I-400 Japanese submarine that like can launch.
Yeah, it was like the second biggest submarine of the war or something.
Yeah, and it's like, I was like, I'm sold. 100-point submarine? Hell yeah, I'm sold. I'll do it. I will run those. I can surface and shoot things when my torpedoes fail. Oh my god, I'm in love. So yeah, I am definitely all up into it. And so now I'll get to also hear about French ships fast in reverse, jokes.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of those jokes, that's a good segue into my game with John and Team Yankee, a game we've not touched in some fucking time. And it showed when we tried to sit down with the rules.
Yeah.
John and I, so listeners, John and I played this game, and we knew it was going to be a huge pain in the ass. Aaron so graciously offered to be the rules lawyer for everything, and John and I were getting frustrated, not at Aaron, but at both of us thinking we remembered the rules better than we did and being like, no, this is how I remember it going, and then Aaron looking it up and us being like, what the fuck, it's been that way the whole time, like, kind of shit.
They were vicious and hurtful. Don't believe the lies.
Hey, I didn't say we didn't take it out on you, but John and I,
it's all right,
had
it's part of my job.
No, as much as we joke about it, it is not your job. But John and I had the discussion afterwards that we let our frustration with us assuming the rules kind of run over into Aaron. And so we had to apologize after. And I think you got to remember, everybody's fucking human, and you just got to be aware of those moments where you're like, hey, I appreciate you as a friend, and I did not mean to let my frustration and anger kind of ruin the fun we were having. Because I was, despite getting fucked by the rules a couple times because I thought I knew how they worked, I was having a blast. John did not seem to be having as much. And that's probably because I think we talked about it a while ago, because they announced it probably right before our last call. our last podcast where they did a kind of like a dynamic, a live. Well, they call it dynamic, but it's more like a live beta test for point changes in Team Yankee, where if it's a main battle tank, except for like the Stritzvong 103s, there was something else that I saw that I was like, oh, it really didn't get touched. T-55s maybe.
They hit a bunch of Russian stuff.
Well, sure, but the Russians also have like 55, 64, 72s, 80s. So I didn't really.
And then variations of the numbers as well. Yeah.
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 And I didn't really look through them. And when I gave my feedback on the points changes, I just left that whole section blank. Was like, I don't play any of this except for maybe in finish. But if it was basically an MBT, they dropped the points down by anywhere from like 50 to even 25. I think maybe even 30 on one. But it was huge because the main issue right now is a lot of people want to take them. But if you take a MBT squad and you're not playing more than like what the average tournament runs. If you're not playing like 200 points or 150, you're not taking anything except 5 MBTs. So you show up with 5 MBTs, and we'll be generous and say that even if the rate of fire on a move is 2, you're hopefully dealing 10 wounds a turn against people that bring, like me, mass MSU, multiple small unit, like recon tanks, APCs, light tanks, tow missile launchers, like everything. It's just not feasible. Like, it is just not feasible to take it because you can't support them. You're just stuck taking that. So they dropped all the heavy points cost. Beautiful. Love it. They also upped the AA. I am of the mindset, and maybe we can get into this in a contentious conjecture. I'm of the mindset that, like, try not to nerf, try to buff. So if you feel like people aren't bringing aircraft because they're too expensive, if it's a fixed wing, it doesn't come in enough. And if it's a helicopter, it gets shot down too easy on like the first turn by, I don't know, and fucking ADATs or some other shit that shoots 72 inches. You know, maybe make
where their AA bubble is the whole mother trucking board.
Yeah, especially if they're dead center, and you're like, great, they're behind line of sight on the ground. What the fuck am I supposed to do about this? Then it's like, cool, lower helicopters or buff the fixed wing so the fixed wing comes in more often. And sure, maybe AA still gets to shoot before they get a bomb off, but a fixed wing should be able to do more damage on the static than, I don't know. I'm more put all the things on the table, not make things not come up on the table, because at least for me, they're one of the last things that I put in to my army because we don't have them on our games enough. So I'm like, unless it's Canadian, and I'm like, ADATs. I will look at it and go, oh, I've got like 5 points to spend. Ooh, but my French DCAs went up like 4 points. So they went from, I don't know, making this number up the top of my head because I don't know. Ooh, they went from 4 to 8. So I definitely can't even just slot one in for an objective holder or something. So to me, it takes away models, which is something Adam and I were talking about. How it's like, oh, they're letting you put the things that you spent money on the table at regular points cost without being like 200 point game, baby, like kind of stuff. It's like, that's cool, but I I didn't really see the need for the aircraft, but then again, like I said, we don't have a we don't have a lot of aircraft in our area. So the game that we played, because John really wanted to try out the new dynamic points cost, was he played American M1s. I don't remember if they were M1s or IPVs. I know they were somewhat cheap because he still brought a bunch of shit behind him. And I
think
brought.
they were heavy commons.
Oh, they were the fulls?
Yeah, I think that was his whole idea, was that, because while you guys were playing, I don't think I remember a single roll against his front armor ever happening.
Yes, because I brought my naughty list. I brought one of my naughties. And it wasn't even the full naughty list. This was my French arty spam, and it wasn't full arty because it didn't have the 120 millimeters. Because I literally bought them like that day, and I had not assembled them yet. So I brought 2 full squads of off ones and an MLRS squad with 3 tanks. And I only brought the MLRS because I wanted to try minefields. But I went second, so I didn't get to deploy them because deploying them would have meant trying to shoot where he was going to go or where he was going to sit. And that was a lot more...
As opposed to... Yeah.
Well, it's a lot more difficult to discern when he's already started moving. Because, like, when he deployed, if I had gone first, it was very obvious that he was going to have to move parallel to the road to not face a bunch of toe spam. Because I took Mephistos, which also got a points reduction. I don't know why, but I'm not going to complain because I fucking love them. Yeah, he had to avoid the road or he was going to take a bunch of toe spam. So I knew if I could get the minefield off by one of the cornfields, it would have meant he had to take the long way around or risk going through it. But because he had already moved past where that choke point was, it meant he could either go past a farmhouse along the road. He could dip past the farmhouse to the south and then cut straight across the field, or he could go all the way to the table edge and cut across. So it went from him having one option to 3 options. And then even then, he surprised me because he chose to do one of those things with half of his M1s, and then he chose to go around, kind of backtrack around one of the fields to come up on the other side. But I think I got pictures, and I can't remember if I posted them to Instagram or not. But I sat in a corner with a bunch of arty and infantry and some APCs. So I put the APCs in between the buildings so that when he inevitably killed them, he could not move into me. And because I was shooting arty, my observer just kept being like, ha 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 ha, you're not blocking my sight, every time he would kill something, because he never shot at it. And that was the only thing that I was banking on being able to see outside of the fortress I made with the bodies of my dead tanks. And so my infantry sat in the buildings with a couple Milans, a couple Erics, and most of the like 86 millimeters, which was great because when his light recon came in, I really fucked him up on that side. Yeah, he killed the APCs, but he couldn't really do anything against the missiles inside the building. And then his Humvees got pretty shit on. And because of that, the Mephistos and the arty were just able to focus down his M1s brutally, like really, really bad. I think if we were to have sat down and tallied it up, I lost half the VABs that I took with me, which I think was 7. Because I also took a AMX 10.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I took the AMX 10 RC formation, and they were running around with the intent on causing havoc, except I never really got on the side of the Abrams. Once he moved into that position where he had 3 ways to escape the kill zone, like, I just couldn't get the AMXs on his side without them being gunned down for a turn. So I had to rely on the Arty, and holy shit, am I in love with the off ones. Those things, I can't remember what the rapid reload keyword was.
I think it's just autoloader.
Autoloader, yeah, there we go. That thing,
Yeah.
oh, fucking choice. Yep, it melted his M1s pretty badly. And I did forget that I did take out one. I took out 2 Abrams with VBLs because he was so focused on the AMX 10 RCs running around that I don't know if he forgot or just missed 2 VBLs hiding behind a farmhouse, that when the Abrams moved up, they just like sprinted out on a I can't remember. I don't think I needed to do the blitz. I think they literally just moved out and then just shot him in the ass, 2 of them, and then popped him. And I was like, done. I don't care what happens. I'm even if I lose this game, I'm sold. I love the VBLs, and they killed 2 Abrams, so win for me.
But those are the ones that have like a 16-inch range 21 AT gun, right?
Yeah. So
yeah, like it hits really hard, but don't go very far.
It doesn't go very far. So I had to wait. I had to wait for him to move up on him, and like I said, I don't know if he was just super distracted by the AMX 10 RCs, or he never saw them move behind the farmhouse as the Abrams came up. But yeah, they were well worth their points. So all in all, I still love Team Yankee. I still have more shit I want to put on the table and test. I really hope they reverse their changes on the AA, but I love the changes on the MBTs. I hope they even bring them down a little bit, but can't be too greedy. So I'm excited. And if I think I remember, they're gonna keep both points on the force builder so that you can.
Oh, okay. I do actually think I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't looked too deep into everything yet. Because I know I submitted my feedback, and then literally like 2 days after I did, I saw that they had updated it. I was like, oh, I need to save that and go back and reread. But look at that awesome other segue. More rules changes and point changes and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. The world is falling. We're all gonna die.
It's actually not. It was just a horrific echo chamber of bitter people.
What? Facebook groups and Reddit and the Discords, they all feed each other because everybody, to be cool and shit.
Yeah, I don't know if it's being cool.
Listen to
I've
us.
heard one person make the argument that people were just bitching because they were like, I don't know how to win consistently now.
Well, first off, that just takes practice, because once you figure out how the new game modes and everything works, turns out you can just get back to that with enough practice.
You're being too reasonable.
Yeah. But we have a podcast, therefore we know everything, and we are a super competitive...
Yes, we are an authority on the internet.
We are the authority, not just an. We are the authority. So, listen to us. Y'all are overreacting.
The new Legion rules are fine. It's not a big deal. People need to calm down.
I enjoyed them. a lot.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's probably the most fun I've had playing Legion in quite a while.
I liked having. I can't really explain it without talking about our game. So, this past Saturday, as per usual, we do the first Saturday of every month. We do a Legion tournament because Legion is in quote unquote edition 2 now. We were like, hey, this one's going to be a lot more casual with an emphasis on learning the new rules. Because they did a lot of stuff where they changed how cover works, upped the point costs for, or not point costs, sorry. They updated your point allowance for armies and then adjusted points based on what they felt with the new rule set. And also nuked the old missions and gave us new ones. I will agree. I do think it was a huge bummer not having cards and tools available off the
To
bat.
buy, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, as an option, I think.
Yes.
As an option, I can agree. Because I was all for everything being effectively free. Like, I paid because I don't own a printer. Mike Kyle did point out that I could have just gone to the library and done it for a heck of a lot cheaper, and I kicked myself. But essentially getting to play an entire new edition for free really ain't that bad.
Right.
Because I think they said some quarter 2 or 3 next year is when we're going to get all the cards, and I mean, I'm going to rebuy them all, 100%.
Oh, yeah. It's just a very big... From then until now, it is a huge annoyance to new players coming into the game that if they don't know about groups like us, where we have a Discord, we have people that play typically every Saturday, people that are now looking for games outside of our regular playtime. If they don't know that those people exist, they're going to miss out. And if they go to a store and they're like, oh yeah, show up at this time, and they're not, put in contact beforehand, they're gonna go off of, so where do I get the cards? Where do I get the that new half ruler and this, that, and the other? And they're gonna be like, oh, you just gotta print it out of your computer.
Yeah, the game is very much not new player friendly for a bit.
For a bit.
And that is being generous.
Yeah.
Like if they happen to swing by and have a question and I happen to be there, like that's not like at our local, for example, it's not terrible.
Yeah.
Because I can point them in the right direction to all those resources, but just putting it that way and putting yourself in that person's shoes and being like, all right, I want to get into this game.
Yeah, and
you buy a core set.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I was saying you buy a core set and find out that it is. If you get Rebels and Empire, it's what, 6 years out of date at this point? I think it was 2018 when Legion came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, even for us, we were super lucky because we have 3D printers in our community. So for the tournament, we had someone show up with files that were provided by the overall Legion community for free and was like, hey, until we get shit, like, we need to play with this stuff, so here you go. So he showed up with a bunch of those for everybody, which was awesome. And then to go a little bit further into the tournament itself, you and I, since we had an even number, we didn't really get to play any buy games at all for the tournament, but we were both kind of busy up until about the third round. So we at least had the benefit of answering a lot of questions, looking them up for people. Because everybody's like, oh, I remember how this rule works in the original edition, but how does it work with this? How does it interact with this now? Kind of stuff. So we were getting a lot of stuff kind of sorted beforehand, but reading the rules and answering questions, at least for me, did not prepare me to sit down and play a game.
Yeah, there's something definitely to be said for, you know, absorbing that information and then pulling it out of your brain in practice, not necessarily in the order you read it. Like, I think my favorite part is when you shot my T-47 for the first time, and now vehicles flat cannot obtain cover through being obstructed the way trooper models can. It's sweet, whatever. I'm sure people are going to cry about it. I don't care. It's just one less thing to worry about, and it's just uniform. Then I'm like, you roll the attack, and I'm staring at the unit card. I'm like, but it has cover. Did cover as a keyword change? Oh God, wait, do I make cover rolls? Oh yeah, that's a thing. Completely forgot.
Yeah. That was not the worst one. The worst one was the ATRT, almost completely hidden by the terrain, except his ass was sticking out a little bit, and I was like, "Hey, can you just..."
Yeah.
I know realistically you should absolutely have cover, but as the rules are currently written, I see you plain as day, and I'm going to take a pot shot at that. Is that okay?
It's the kind of thing where I get people's complaint in situations like that.
Sure.
But for me, oh well, move on, take the shot, live your life. So I think people are just way too concerned with, I gotta win. Anyway.
So real quick, walk us through the list that you played.
Yes. So, like you said, it's now 1,000 points, and a bunch of things went down. I took Commander Luke, Leia, 4 squads of Rebel troopers. They were not with the new upgrade to make them 10-man units. They were just regular troopers. Let's see, what else was there? 3 ATRTs with the rotaries, and 2 T-47s.
Sweet. So I took Grievous, IG unit with the rocket launcher, 2 B2 squads with the range 1 to 2 gun, 4 naked B1s, 3 destroyer droids, and 1 AAT. We played shifting priority.
That is correct.
And the secondary was marked for death?
I think that's what it's called. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but it's the one where basically we each pick some units, and if we kill those units, we get a VP.
Yep. So I negated my advantage because I forgot about it on the first turn. It was the one where you're prepared with dodges on 3 units. And yours was like air support or something.
Yeah, it was basically, or it is actually, now that I think about it, it was a strafing run that only hands out suppression, and
Yeah.
I was playing against a droid army.
Not only that, you weren't really shooting at the droid army, so you couldn't even capitalize on stacking the suppression to make them panic.
Right. Which, sure, that's really great if I can get them to panic, but any other army would like, sweet, I'll take a suppressed unit, losing an action, etc., etc.
Yep.
So, well.
So, overall, I remember...
Quick thing, though. Not that it mattered, since I didn't roll a single success to hand out a suppression anyway.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
I completely whiffed, so...
Yep. But the... I forgot where I was going. Oh, the marked targets were one of my droidicas, the AAT, and you picked the 2 B2s. I did not trust myself, even though I should have. I did not think I could kill both the snow speeders, so I chose 1 ATRT and Luke, and then you chose 2 fucking Rebel Trooper squads. When it came to the fighting, it started with a bang, You tried to take out some droidicas, but the droidica's shields. I think you only plinked one shield off.
Yeah, that first attack was pretty underwhelming, if I remember right.
Yeah, and then the AAT came on the board, and then the IGs with the rocket squad came on the board, and I killed the first snow speeder, and I was like, shit. Oh, okay. Well, I may not get both of them, especially since you had started the other one way across the table, and since we're now 5 turns instead of 6, I was like, he's probably going to come in and do denial on the cap during the last turn, so I'll probably never really get a chance to shoot at it. Except I was wrong. You brought it up, nuked it as well. I think that was it. Oh no, the blue ATRT got nuked too. That was all I killed. Even though Luke was engaged with the IGs and Grievous, your fucking saves were on point. That was frustrating. Watching you.
I must say it was quite nice to roll red saves for a change. I'm not used to that.
Yeah, and you rolled them. You rolled them real good. I don't think. I think Luke's only wound came from being shot at on the way in, and then despite my rolls were slightly above average on the attack, but you blocked literally all of them 3 times, and I was like, all right, guess we're not getting that marked point. I was pretty certain when you came in, but yep. Didn't get that.
I did get it on one thing, right? Like, I killed a single B2 squad, if I remember right.
You did, yeah. Actually...
No, I think it was just one.
Yeah, it was just one. Because you killed...
Oh, I killed the wrong destroyer. That's what it was.
Yeah, because the other destroyer was holding the back cap. And he was waiting for you with standbys that if Luke tried to go over there, I was going to at least... make you pay for it on the way in. But yeah, we played shifting some priorities, which I really liked because I
thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah,
I at first thought we moved the ones that we captured, and when you were like, no, reread it, and I was like, oh shit, oh. I was like, okay, so I'm going to take 2 of your guys out of the fight, and then I'm going to keep moving the one that we're going to end up contesting towards me, because you had it. And then you moved one closer to you and one out of the fight. But I liked that dynamic, and I liked having the secondaries. I fucked up I should have known I could have killed the speeders, but I didn't trust it, and because of that, your ATRT never engaged. Luke just did not fucking die.
That's kind of mostly what he did, was not die.
That was all he did.
Yeah. He didn't do a whole lot of killing, because I was planning on taking a dramatic turn using... what is it? Son of Skywalker, the double swing one, which didn't work the way I thought it did.
Yeah.
Not that it mattered, because I rolled atrociously bad.
Yep. Once you ate through the dodges on the Magnas, you got 1 wound through in 2 attacks. And
they are unfortunately 2 wounds apiece, so I didn't even kill a model.
Yep. It was unfortunate that Luke just kept on living. So you ended up winning, was like 9-6 or something.
Something like that, yeah.
Yep, because you got the B2 squads. You held, because we went to time, we only went to the 4th round. So for 3 rounds you held, or for 2 rounds you held 3, so that took you to 6. On the final round, you held 2. That took you to 8. Yep, and then the marked gave you 1 more. So that was 9. I only ever held 2, contested 1, never killed any. So yeah, that was 6. Um, and the takeaway that I got was not, this is bullshit. I don't like how this plays. It ruins everything. The takeaway that I took, that I gleaned from this loss was more like, oh, I really need to understand that these missions are not what I was expecting. It wasn't like, because my intent was, I know you kind of gave me shit, but my intent was to slow push out of
Yeah.
that corner, kind of like we were playing intercept signals, or signal intercept, whatever the old one was called. That's kind of how I was expecting it. But once the priority, the POI started shifting and moving, I was like, oh no. Oh no, I am entirely set up wrong for this, because I'm not going to be able to follow where these go as easily as if I was set up here and this and that. So everything that I took away was not like, I hate how this rule plays, I hate how this works. It was like, oh, I just need to adapt to this new system. Because there was never a, oh, this feels bad, I don't like how this works. I think the cheesy shot against the ATRT with the AAT was a like, I'm sorry, man, it's how the rules are written. Do you agree that I can see it?
It could have been that. It just goes to say, or it just goes to show that, it might have been more on me to, like, I maybe could have been able to hide behind that.
Yeah.
Yeah, as opposed to just like, whatever, I'll just throw it out there. But I had no problem with it.
Yeah. I think that was the only, like, quote unquote, taking advantage of the rule set. I think everything else was more like, we were pretty intentional with, like, making sure that even if it didn't benefit from cover, like the ATRTs, we still made note of, like, all right, step through the steps, do this, do that.
Yeah, make the rolls.
Yeah. Or at least
each step in turn.
Yeah, or at least acknowledge, like, I would roll cover here, but cover does not apply, therefore, move on to next step, kind of thing. I don't think there were any truly crazy rule calls or anything where we were like, oh shit, how does this work? I think we were both very understanding of, like, the broad strokes of how it went.
Yeah, at least I knew, like, okay, I know this needs to happen. I might not know exactly how it's supposed to happen, but I know I should have it referenced and available.
Right.
So,
I, as a
honestly,
droid player,
thing that,
go ahead.
I'll say the thing that confused me the most, and still confuses me, is the way it's worded and why it's worded that way for the secondary we played. Either it's weirded weird.
I don't know how to
worded weird, or we played it wrong.
Because to me, it seems it makes perfect sense.
You understand why it's kind of confusing, though, right? Or is it just me?
The first time I read it, I was a little confused. I was like, I don't get why you do that. Because I was looking at it purely as a denial. But it's not a denial.
Yes.
It's a, if you were to choose 4 units, you would have chosen 4B. You would have chosen 4 B2s. You would have chosen 2 B2s, 2 B1s. Because I don't have a choice. I have to put them forward to contest points. Because the AAT can't contest 3 points on its own. So that they will be in the fight. You killing them gives you 4 points. But if you only get to pick 2 of mine and I get to pick the other 2, that just makes it so that you get to pick your 2 easy targets, but I'm going to make sure the other 2 that you have to kill are much tougher to kill. Which is what I did.
Okay. I get it.
The AAT and the Destroyer.
I think it just needed it explained one more time.
Yeah. Because I kind of understand where it's a little confusing, because the first time I read it, I was like, I don't understand how this is denial. Because for some reason, I was thinking it's a denial step or a denial method of like, you can't pick this one, but you can still claim the victory point off of the one that I pick. So it's no, you don't get to pick 4 easy ones. You get to pick 2 easy ones, and I'm going to pick 2 hard ones. Because obviously, if I'm playing Empire and I've, Imperial Remnant, and I've got like 2 scouts and 2 dark troopers, you'll try to pick the scouts and the stormtroopers, but I'll be like, nah, you can pick the scouts and 2 fucking dark trooper squads. Have fun trying to claim those points, kind of thing. So, but the point that I was going to make was, as a droid player, as a rebel player, fucking love cover, baby. Yeah,
it's good stuff.
Doesn't automatically cancel one, meh. But being able to like roll extra saves, I get to roll essentially my save pool twice. It worked out. There were, I think, a majority of the times I was shot at, I did remove on average whatever the old cover rule was, like 1 or 2. There were a couple that it was blanked.
Yeah, it's always gonna spike one way or the other.
But the time that I saved 3 B1s on cover before I had to roll my defense roll, I was like, be still, my lonely droids. Like, you may live yet. It was an excellent feeling, because at least for me, as a droids player and a rebels player, oh no, the white dice have let me down yet again. I am not new to this folly. I live here kind of shit.
Yeah, I must say that I didn't roll a ton, so against you shooting troopers,
vehicles.
Yeah, my rebel troopers are off scoring points, and they didn't lose a single one, which never has happened, I think, ever.
Yep.
But I really liked it, because even just being on the other end of it, shooting and watching you make all those saves, I still felt that I was like, it wasn't just like, oh yep, sweet, nothing happens, whatever. There was still the drama and the fun of it being up to chance.
Yeah.
That still made me feel like I was making progress with my plan and making headway towards, not that winning's the most important thing, but, winning the game. It just seemed way more, I don't know if it is fair, but that's the best way I can describe it, as opposed to just that flat cancel.
I mean, it makes sense, because
more engaging, I guess, might be the best way to put it.
Because I looked at it as like, when your snowspeeder was like coming in and throwing all that dice, I was like, ugh. E2s, I kind of need you to pick up a little bit extra here on cover, because I know if I roll red saves, you are not going to live. So please, 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 please. And then getting a couple picked up, and then like the B2 squad took you a lot of shots to like finally kill, and I attribute that to being in cover the entire time. Yeah, I will say it does feel different than original Legion, but I don't think it feels bad.
No, not at all.
Like, there's nothing that made me be like, this is a fucking slog, I hate this. There's nothing like assault and counterattack in Team Yankee.
Yeah. It don't feel good.
Yeah. Where you're like, why the fuck did I do this? I did not look
at... Why did I go through all this for nothing?
Yeah, I did not look at my naked B1s and be like, you're only here to score objectives. I literally looked at them like, I feel like you have purpose, and you're not a waste of points. You're not a tax. And to be fair, one of them did do the final pot shot on the speeder to take it down. So
Yeah, they more than earn their points back for sure.
yeah. So between the cover, deployment, I could take or leave. I keep thinking about how, like, first turn shooting happens more often now. And I was kind of under the same impression. But the more I thought about it, I was like, no. Most players are just cowards in the way they set up deployment because they don't want to be the first one to lose an activation or to get shot. If that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely.
Because, like, when I was moving onto the table, I was doing tricks to make sure I was outside of my deployment zone when coming onto the table. Like, I was ending outside my deployment zone. And I was rushing to take objectives sooner. And I don't think that's necessarily just the deployment. I think that's also the fact that, hey, scoring starts on round 2. You should probably get fucking busy. Otherwise, you're going to get outscored. And when a game ends on the end phase, when you have 2 victory points, you should probably start fucking moving and start trying to earn those points. So, I think if they had just changed the objectives, I'm not complaining about the deployment. I think it's fun and there's a lot of stuff still to be explored. I think infiltrate is going to be a really, really good keyword. I'm just saying, I think the thing that I keep hearing where people are like, oh yeah, it's more first turn shooting and you can like kill stuff first turn shooting. It's like, I don't think it's that much different. I think it's players' mindsets because they would set up in such fortified positions. Nobody wanted to get shot first. And I think because of the new objectives forcing you to potentially start scoring real early and the game ends when you hit 12, I think the clock starts a lot sooner than, positioning for 3 rounds. And then all of a sudden, like, mass chaos for 3 turns until you figure out who has the KP at the end kind of shit.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people thought it was to a detriment that, I don't get my 6 rounds to execute my plan. Where so it's clear they took inspiration from the way that Marvel Crisis scores, and I think it was a big win. I thoroughly enjoy that aspect of the new rules, the new scoring, where it felt like obviously than the first round, like you mentioned. You're always doing something, contributing something to the fight. So it's always not, you're like, sweet. It's what, like, there's one that's like 2 and 4, and then different scoring on 6. It always feels like a valid choice to run for an objective because you're like, I threw that 80-point Rebel Trooper unit off into the corner and they never took a shot, but they scored me like 3 points, a third of my points. Was just that squad standing over there. So yeah, I'm super enthusiastic about the new rules. I'm definitely enjoying it.
And you know what? I want to play more.
Yeah, it's made me want to play Elite. Like usually, because I don't get to play it as much as I'd like, and getting a couple games in on the tournament day, where like that's my monthly allowance, and usually I'm fine. But now it's like, that's kind of the only thing I want to play right now.
Right.
Because the other thing, too, is it's making me rethink everything I would normally do or build in lists and, lines of play that I would take.
Yep. Because essentially...
It's like a fresh new army now.
Because essentially, this list that I played against you was the list that I kind of... I'll just say it. I slaughtered Liam with. Except I didn't have the B2s.
Oh yeah, because they're just B1s.
Yeah, I didn't have the B2s and I didn't have the Magnas. But he looked at my list and saw 5 B1s with E5Cs and Grievous and was like, droids? These are just B1s. And I did the same strategy against you that I did with him, thinking I'm going to be able to move out. And you know what? Maybe, big air quotes, maybe if we went to to turn 5, maybe. I'm not like, oh, I had you. I'm just saying, like, my plan was a plan that I had before the rules change, and it's how I like to play that list. And I think this is an example of, like, the two kinds of attitudes of, like, recognizing that that was a list that I played, a strategy that I knew how it worked, and now I just have to figure out how it works and adapt it to the new rules. And that it was exciting to sit down after the end and be like, it wasn't dice. Like, yeah, Luke could have fucking died, but even if Luke died, that only makes it 9-7. That doesn't make it, 9-9 or.
Yeah, because you were already scoring the POIs that were over there.
Yep. But
the units that I had rushed to try and contest and Luke weren't stopping you from scoring those.
Right. It was my strategy of a slow rollout to slowly take the center. And who knows, maybe, like, this is not me being like, oh, I would have had you in turn 5. Maybe I get there. But what I'm taking away from this is not, like, I need to be faster, I need to know the rules. Because what if you charge those 2 AT-RTs into me and start meleeing B1s before I can get into contesting range of that other objective? Or they can't shoot because they're now out of range because you stalled them ahead of time, or your ATRTs are just like stacked in a way where I can't move through both of them. Kind of shit. Like, there's a bunch of stuff that could have happened in turn 5 that could have just locked me out anyways. But the point is, even if I had taken it in turn 5 and I got those 3 extra points, well, that moves you to 11 and me to 9. So I'm still 2 points behind because of how my strategy worked out. So I think it's going to be on me to look. And admittedly, I was lazy and was like, I'm not going to deal with I'm just going to play whatever battle deck someone has, just because we're doing learning. But I think it's going to force me to really sit down, look at the list that I like playing, and figure out, how does this now adapt to the new missions? How does this adapt to the kill or the secondary objectives? Stuff like that. I don't think the advantages are all that hot right now. Some people may disagree. I don't think they're that fantastic. But, I don't know.
Which I'm okay with, honestly. Like, I don't feel like they needed to be a huge blowout.
Yeah.
Or a big swing. It's something there that's free that can help you out in a pinch, can throw a wrench in your opponent's plans.
Right.
I think it was A, you forgot about yours, and B, mine happened to be a big whiff against the army I was playing.
Well, not only the army,
but again, that's...
you also just threw shit dice.
Oh, I also... Yeah. it doesn't help at all if I can't actually connect with anything. So. Yep.
Overall, I think a lot of the doom and gloom on the internet from people over this is from people who have not sat down and played, or who are actively avoiding it and they don't want to because it's change. Because I'll be honest, Link, sometimes you listen. I know you had fucking fun on Saturday, and you have been the person in our group that has been the grumpiest about this. But you didn't even complain at all until the final round that I heard, and we were listening because we gave out a prize. So I'm just saying, a lot of people out there, they don't like the change, but you know what? And I think I said this to you after the game, it still felt like Legion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I feel like I was totally fine with things changing, like, and still being, feeling like Legion. I wasn't super like, oh nope, if it's not this or that or this particular rule, it's not the same game. I'm selling my stuff kind of thing. But the game's been around for a long time, and I think it getting stale could have been was a fair argument. And I don't even play all that often.
Oh.
Oh, was that a hot take?
Oh. No, yours is not a hot take. Mine's a hot take, and I don't think I want to cover it right now because we're already at like an hour and a half or some shit.
Fair.
So we may save that for later.
All right. There was one other thing I wanted to cover though, really quickly about people whining and moaning about, especially like bullshit. You know, there's no product to buy for cards and such, and so what I don't think, or just being an edition change and all that stuff. Legion came out in, I think it was like mid 2018, so we'll just call it 6 years it's been around. Every time the rules have been updated, it's effectively been free. You can always play with the same toys that you have. Sure, they might not be great, but they might come back around again. In that same amount of time, Warhammer 40,000, the biggest miniatures wargame on the planet, has had 3 different rules edition changes. That means a hardbound rulebook, an army book, unit cards that you have to buy that do not come with the models themselves. And if you want to play competitively, there is a mission book that changes, I think it's twice a year. So you're looking at anywhere from $150 to $200 per edition. That's $600 in 6 years.
Sure.
That is a Legion army. I think a lot of people don't understand that we could have had it so much worse.
My point to that is people are aware of that, and that's part of the reason why they choose Legion. Like, if you look at a lot of the people that have come over, it's because they're like, I don't want to keep spending that. I guess I'm not really for or against that train of thought, because those people they're already not playing that, and essentially what they got is better than what we've been given, or is equal. Like, you didn't have to go buy new missions from a $50 box like you've had to. Even worse, the first set, where you got most of those cards in the starter that you already bought, so you were really buying it for like, what, 6 cards? And maybe the little terrain pieces. So like, I'm less of a like that's a point for people to remember, because like they're already used to getting it for free. The thing that I would say is, find me a game that's been around longer than 5 years, a miniatures game, that has not undergone a revision like this. Team Yankee's done it, Flames of War's done it, fucking Victories at Sea's done it, Gaslands has done it. Like, they all do it because they get enough feedback from people over the years that they compile it, and sometimes they take straight from what the community says. Sometimes they listen to what the community says, and they actually try and plan for it in ways the community did not necessarily expect. A lot of people have always complained about not prepared positions, because that's the new keyword. Whatever that shitty condition card is, where you get to put out 8 fucking barricades. Fortified positions. People have complained about that, just turning it into like, oh, everything's in heavy cover. The new cover system works like this, that, and the other thing. And so they're like, how do we do this without just like completely changing how silhouettes and line of sight and all that works? Oh, we just change it to rolling dice instead. How do we do it? Oh, let's do the math, and then let's write out a full article breaking down how the math works out, why this change was done. Here's how it affects this, that, and the other. Like, I think a lot of this is just people complaining because it's changed, and they will eventually begrudgingly be happy, or they'll, like us, be like, you know what? Let me go play it first. Because I'll admit, I read a lot of that stuff and was like, ooh, turn 1 is your deployment phase, and we're going down to 5 turns. So realistically, 4 turns? I don't know about this, because that feels like a list has to be super aggressive, and I don't like super aggressive because I make stupid mistakes. But I found my strategy works because you did not want to approach, and the stuff that did approach died.
Yeah, no, it did not seem like a good idea to approach that gun line.
Yeah, but I was out of position because I was not fully prepared in understanding how the objectives were, both the primary and the secondary, were going to score. So it took me playing a game to be like, oh, okay, I get it now. This is what I have to do. And I think a lot of people were that way, because I do listen to a lot of podcasts that, since I'm the kind of the judge for our group, I want to hear everyone's breakdown of the rules, see what I missed. A lot of times, a lot of the podcasts that I listen to go over like rules forum rulings and stuff like that. So I like to stay in the know. And I feel like a lot of the podcasts have generally been like standoffish at first, but now they're kind of like, you know what? We've gotten real games under our belt. I was afraid this was going to be terrible, but this counters this and this counters that, or this rule kind of makes that balance out a lot more. And I think a lot of it was purely vitriol when it was announced. And I think the more games are played, the more people are going to find it's not that bad and it's actually good.
Yeah, they certainly didn't time the new Legion announcement well with the Armada X-Wing announcement. It certainly left a sour taste in some folks' mouth, I'd say.
Well, you're never going to appease the people that want to sit there and look at you and go, you're just killing the game that I love because you've already killed 2 games. And it's like, that's not how this fucking works at all, dude. They're not making that much money off of them. And they're probably going deeper and deeper with both of those games because they don't have the people to fucking go through it. And with fucking Asmodees saddling everybody with the debt of the buy-off.
Forgot about that, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, we gotta do what we gotta do to make the fucking money. And if Armada's not making fucking money, and X-Wing's not making... Now, you can say X-Wing 3.0 or whatever the fuck killed it. Sure, whatever, I don't know. I didn't play that game. But Armada... They've not had the people. They canceled Clone Wars. They just said they're going to do reprints. Haven't even really done reprints because, as they've said, they can't find the companies to do the quality in terms of paint and production. Sure, whatever. But at the end, they're a business, and there's not people out there buying 12 Star Destroyers. There's those fucking weirdos, but that's not a majority of your players. Your majority of your players buy 2, and unless new product comes out, they never buy again. And no matter how many times people come up to me at the store and be like, oh, this game looks awesome, I would love to play this. I can think of maybe one who's actually done that. Everybody else is like, oh shit, I've had these models. I would love to play with you sometime. Nobody is looking at that game ready to jump in fresh, even without knowing everything that's going on behind the scenes. It just doesn't fucking make money, so they had to close it so they can focus on the shit that does keep them afloat. If you don't like capitalism, baby, I got some word of wisdom for you. But I think that's probably a good time for us to leave.
Well, on that note.
Yeah. On that note, remember, we're 2 idiots on the internet throwing dice, sometimes at each other. That's it.
Okay, bye.
I'm fine. I'll say it. Bye.
Okay, bye.